right, so we're starting out here and getting ready for an upper workout. And I will tell you, as I am starting out here on some high rows, I guess you could call them, as I try to make the best that I have to do within my room. I like to do antagonistic workouts, and that means that I'm going to be going from a back to a press, to a back to a press, to a back to a press. I find that using antagonistic principles like this, allow my shoulders to feel as good as they need to feel, because like I've told you many times, I'm 42, and I think that doing pull before push is, for me, the most effective way to do so. But in this, I set up a little sandbag on the ground that I use to sit on, and I got that attachment, multi-grip attachment from Titan, which I really like. And I know that I've talked about this before. I have my little pulley system that is not great in any way, shape, or form, but it works for what I need it to do. And yes, I do plan on getting more for my home gym. I've slowly been building at it for years and years and years, but I'm just working with what I have. And I think that's an important lesson for people to understand is this perfect? Is it the same as me having a setup that you would get in a professional modern gym with a tower, with easy pin pulls? Yeah, of course not. But it works for what I need it to do. It is a one-to-one pulley. The resistance works, and now I start off with 45, and it is set at 90, and getting the joints nice and warm. I already did my pre-workout warm-up and stuff, which you want to see a little bit of that. You can check out my arms video. It doesn't include everything, but it includes some stuff. Now I'm working up to 135 pounds, and this would be my first working set. And I'm trying to focus on controlling the eccentric and really feeling that stretch. And this is something that I try and do over and over, just to really work on. And I did this on the 25th. Today is the 27th, and I can feel this. And that's a good soreness, by the way. And I split up my workouts, usually 2 a day. I do one earlier in the day and I do one later in the day, because that's just what works for me. And I know that some people might say, wow, Ted, you're doing chest and back at the same time. And I'm like, nah, it's really not that big of a deal for me. If you eat a meal, I eat a big meal, my big morning meal between my main mover of the day, of which today that is my chest workout, and I'm going to do bench press. But, I eat a cup of oats, 10 egg whites, 4 ounces of broccoli slaw, 20 calories worth of olive oil, and usually an apple or a banana. And that's about 2 hours before the workout. The banana or apple is about 20 minutes before the workout, just to give me a little bit of energy. But this has had some time to digest, and now I get the chance to really move into this. And I don't think my energy levels are an issue. And I'm going to cut right now. We'll see if that gets affected as we get deeper and deeper into the workout, but or into the process of cut. But for these workouts right now, everything feels great, and I don't think energy is really an issue. And if energy is really an issue, I mean, that is why the universe created caffeine. But I usually just have coffee in the morning, and I don't go for caffeine anymore for later workouts. I've actually found over the years that when you rely on caffeine for that boost of energy, it just starts to wear off. And really, if you don't go to the caffeine and you just get yourself nice and warmed up, you'll probably be okay. So yeah, on these you can see I'm really focusing on the stretch and trying to drive my elbows low to use the lats. I try to get the most out of it, and really focusing on that eccentric as it comes to a close, and just try and work my way through it. You won't see it here. I did add another 10 on, but decided to not do that set because it was just a little bit too much. This is one of the issues I have with not having anything holding you to the ground. If you're trying to do these higher rows, it'll pull you off the ground. I weigh, I think 212 right now. And if you have 135 pounds, kind of pulling you in the opposite direction, yeah, it'll pull you off your little seat. That's why they have those little pads at the gyms that keep you posted. So, these, it's more of a row than an overhead type pull. It gets my entire back lit up. And I actually used to always do rows first on pull day, but that was because I didn't really have very many options for a pull of pulley-based system like this. But now I am using these, and I find that I really, really like it, and it gets my back a little bit more warm than the rows. The rows, even though I'm going to tell you that I'm not a big believer in CNS fatigue, I think that's a little bit of a myth, and unless you're an extremely high-level competitor or you're just working way too hard, it's not that big of a deal. So I do some long lengthened partials here at the end to try and get just the little bit out. What watched a video recently from Jeff Nippard talking about calf training and saying, well, you should do that as well to really maximize what you're doing to your calves. If you're doing that for your calves, you should be doing it for everything, in my opinion. So, I mean, maybe not on a press because if you can't get that up, you're kind of SOL. But yeah, I mean, I think that you gotta go for it. You gotta give it your all. And again, don't blow yourself out, but there's no reason why you can't work these two muscles together. I start off with the bar. Again, some people might look at my warm-ups and say, junk volume. I don't believe in it. I believe in getting as warmed up as possible. And I also, you see me throwing my head a little bit forward on early reps. That's just to kind of work on the scapular retraction and then push it away. And then scapular retraction and then push it away. I actually find that you can use your lats on pressing movements, like not a break per se, but I feel like when I'm bringing the bar down that I'm doing a row and I'm using it to bring the bar down. I know they talk about that some in powerlifting circles. I don't think I'm doing it quite the same as they do, but I feel like I can definitely feel my back supporting the weight on the way down, which allows me, maybe not as sensibly or not as linearly, by doing that, it allows me to feel the stretch more on the way down. For me, my bench, whenever I've had a long layoff, is the one that goes the worst, and back stuff stays, lower body strength stays pretty well. But for me, my bench will go. Pressing power is what goes first on me. But I try to bring it back pretty nicely here, and I'm trying to work on inching my way in. Something about scapular tightness I've learned recently, and I just keep it tight, pull it down, do it like you're almost doing a row on the way down. Use your lats as the brakes and allow your chest to feel the emphasis and try and feel that stretch. And I also find that by pausing at the bottom, you can kind of work your angles around to try and feel where you can create the most tension in your chest, and you'll feel that at the bottom. So that when you go up, you kind of have an idea of where you want your hands to come to on the next rep. So again, I'm just working my way up, sets of 10 and 8. I maybe do 6 here on 115, and then I break it down to 4 at 135. But again, I don't try to go all out and annihilate the muscle, falling back on something. I believe 8-time Mr. Olympia Lee Haney said, who was the big Mr. Olympia before Dorian Yates took over in the 90s. He said, stimulate, don't annihilate. I also don't have a spotter, so that's something I keep into account when I'm doing bench by myself. Do an incline, you can roll it down. The only one that's really, you can get in a little bit of trouble is bench, but I find it's not that much of an issue. But yeah, I'm trying to go for the most mind-muscle connection in terms of feeling the weight on the way down and pressing it back up. I'm not going for just overall, the most I can muscle up on the bar. I'm trying to focus on this and trying to work my way up. Now, a little bit of what I think, maybe this is something that's been done in power building before, but I think that in the way that I've done this before to get my strength back up, what I do is I work to what is a 2-rep or 1-rep heavy for the day. And I know that I could probably always do more than what I work up to, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find a heavy double or a heavy single. And so on this day, I believe I worked up to about 215, which again, that's not the most I've ever, I know that's nothing impressive, but I'm trying to work my way back up. So I'll work up to about 215, and then I will go down after that heaviest weight that I do on the day. And then I'll do it at 65, 60, 70%, somewhere in there. And that's where I'll work on my hypertrophy stuff. That to me is telling me that on the day where my strength is relative to what I'm trying to do, and it'll allow me to focus on a weight where I think, okay, well, if that's, that's 60 to 70 percentage, and you can add on for each set or just go, straight sets from that point, but it'll give me an idea of what I'm feeling on that day. Because people say, well, I don't like to work on, percentage based. They do RPE. RPE to me, I don't know, maybe I'm kind of stealing from that, but it's like I work my way up to what my body is allowing that day, which is somewhat of a focus on strength. And then once I get to that point, I break it down for hypertrophy. And I 100% believe you can do both on the same day. And then after you do that heavy work, like you see me doing right here, I believe this is 215, and because it's 205 with the 45-25 10s and then the 5s. So yeah, I've worked up to 215 here, and I could have done more than this on the day, but I got a good heavy single in which I liked my form. Could have done more, no spotter, but then I said, you know what? Then I'll go down from there and I'll find a weight, which is right around 135. I round, if it comes out at like 129, I'm not going to try and use the plates to get it exactly to that. I'm going to get it to 135 because that's the easiest way to do this. And then I'm going to rep it out. And I'm going to go close to failure on that set and the ones after that to really try and give myself a bit of a boost. And to tell you a little bit more about my training theories, on one in push-pull day, I will do strength, the main mover bench, and the secondary will be a dumbbell flat bench, and then the other hypertrophy movement will be an overhead press. And then my next workout, just to tell you how I do this, will be an overhead main mover and then incline for hypertrophy. And then the next workout, it'll be incline for the main mover and then flat for hypertrophy. And then the next workout, which is what you're looking at here, will be the flat bench as the main mover, and then the secondary will be the overhead. And I think I got like 12 or 13 reps here, and which is a good amount to get. And I said, I'm pretty type 1. I know I'm extremely white. You can all tell that by looking at me, but I actually, my best sport growing up was track and field. Right about the time that I went through puberty, I actually started getting pretty darn fast for a white guy. I should try and find footage of me as a white guy running against nothing but other black dudes and actually not embarrassing myself. But I was fast, but like if I get 13 on that first set, that next set, it's probably going to be like 8. And then the one after that's probably going to be like 6. So I keep it to about 3 sets. But yeah, I go for, quality reps. I go to try and find my mind muscle connection. And after this workout, I actually had a really good pump. But yeah, this is how I structure my workouts. And I always change things, but I know because I've done this before when coming back from a layoff, how I can get myself back into shape and get myself back into strength pretty easily. And that's working up to heavy single or double and then doing hypertrophy work for there. I know there's a lot of people there that will, just talk smack about CrossFit all day. But CrossFit did a really good job of making people strong and jacked. And one of the things that we would do is if we were going to do, say, Grace, which is, the clean and press, you would work up to a heavy double on just a standing overhead press, push press. And then you would do, as fast as you could, 25 reps at 135, or, you could RX it, but you go from there. And that actually gets people pretty strong and pretty jacked. These, I can do pendlay rows, but I tend to feel it more in my lower back. So for these, I do the big guy rows, which is like almost a deadlift secondary movement. I'm going to the ground, and yeah, there is some body English going on here, but I feel this in my lower lats way more than I do in a Dorian or Ronnie style row or in a pendlay row. And yeah, there's a little bit of momentum going on, but my lats slide up. And to go with what a Dr. Mike would always say, there is a stimulus to fatigue ratio going on. And I think if I feel it there and it works, then go from there. Try and make it happen. For these, I was working on, just really feeling it. And you can see how low I bring it, into my armpits. Deep stretch. You see me pause a little bit, and then you see me go all the way to the top. And then again, it's a deep stretch with a pause, and then all the way back up. And this is, again, maybe not the way that everybody wants to do it. Some people don't like pausing that much at the bottom, but I try to really work my way down to feel that maximum stretch across the muscle fibers, because that's what the research is telling us. And also I find it makes me feel better. And that's something that I keep on coming back to is, how does this make me feel? There's a lot of emphasis right now on, this is what maximizes hypertrophy. And that's great. I totally get that. But I also think the other aspect of that is that, how does it make your body feel afterwards? Do your joints get sore? And for some people, if they go for a maximum strength, I've talked to some dudes like this. Yeah, they say they don't like how it makes their joints feel. They like to go, a little bit different range of motion. And I think that has merit as well, because if you're injured and you can't lift, then there's zero hypertrophy going on. There's zero muscle building going on. There's zero fun going on. And the prime motivation for me in this is, again, like I like to say, vanity. But I also think a big part of this is trying to, make sure that I can keep on lifting, keep on being a healthy individual, feel strong. Like I said, walking around the grocery store, I usually feel like the strongest guy there. At a National Hockey League game in the dressing room after a game, probably not. But when I'm doing this, yeah, it most definitely makes me feel pretty good. Doing a drop set here, and again, is something I like to do. You might advocate for rest pause because there is a little bit of a rest and a pause for me, but I drop it down and I'll bang out some more reps. And like I said, after this workout, I had an awesome pump. And to me, that is maybe not the be all, tell all, end all, whatever you want to call it, but I felt great. And, you know, I was doing the little tech dances and I was like, hey, look, I'm feeling pretty jacked right now. And if you can do that, those are moving afterwards, yeah, then you did a good job. After these, I do some overheads and I switch it up. I did these close grip and then I'll do a wide grip because I do the most overhead that I can do before I do an overhead press. I feel like if I'm going to be doing this, then I should be working my lats down like this before I work them out. It's, again, a little bit more of a high row because of the way I have to set it up and actually try to adjust here. I bring my feet in a little bit deeper, or at least I think I do. Maybe I don't. But, you know, for me in my setup, I'm trying to find out the best way to do this. And I actually find if I did a close grip pull-up, I would probably get somewhat of a similar angle to my chest. That's something that I've learned over the years. If you're doing more neutral grip, you can kind of rotate your sternum towards where you're coming up and actually get a really good contraction. I know contraction isn't the big thing anymore, but for joint health and knowing how to move your scapula, I think it is very important. So yeah, again, focusing on the stretch, big stretch, and then making sure to drive my elbows low and not using my arms. I do use straps for these because I think it's important to not worry about your grip. Grip is not the limiting factor for me, but I do think that it is something to be aware of. And you know, grip will give out before your lats do. Your hands are much smaller than your back. And if I was playing guitar along to Working Man by Rush. So yeah, I think that's required by law. So now I switch to my wider grip. Not super wide, but again, working on driving my elbows low, feeling that pinch lower in the lats, and just trying to really make sure that all that warmth is going up into the overhead press when I'm finally doing that part of my workout. And that's, again, something that I've found over the years makes it feel like when I'm bringing down, I'm squeezing my scapula together when I'm bringing the barbell or the dumbbell down and then using it to push back up, which I find puts more of the emphasis on the anterior deltoid. I don't know if that's rooted in science, but it's rooted in Ramey for how it feels for me. So I am 100% okay with it. And if it's something that you think you can do as well, then yeah, I'm all for it. At that point, again, just 2 sets for my back. That'll do it, especially after that first set of stuff that I did earlier. You know, those are 2 to failure. And then now I get into my overhead. So yeah, I'm just repping these out here. I usually try to get between about 8 and 10, much more. And I feel like it's not as effective for me. And then it turns into more of a joint exercise. Much less is fine, but I feel that in terms of pure hypertrophy for my body, I've learned 8 to 10 is the best for the pump, best for the muscle. I love doing stuff at lower rep ranges, but I find that this is the most effective way for me. And I can't remember if I do a drop set of these at the end. I might, maybe I didn't. I might have been fried because it is a good workout. You're working, you know, you're doing back, you're doing chest, you're doing shoulders, but it's very effective. One of the great things that I'll end up showing you a little bit later is the way that you can do a clean and press with pull-ups. That'll fry you. That's something that I did back in the CrossFit days. Oh, Lordy, not the lame kipping pull-ups or it's just a shoulder destroyer, but that just, you know, the pull to the press and then doing an overhead pull, man, just felt like it made me a better man every time I would do it. You can tell I go pretty low on these and I hold it. Also, if you notice the way that I brought it up, I don't do that knee bounce stuff. Learn how to clean your shoulders. I see all this stuff about the hooks, about how guys are, setting themselves up and you're going to injure yourself. It's like, no, clean it before you sit down. Learn how to clean dumbbells. You'll be fine. You don't have to do that lame sitting stuff. You'll be fine. And then I say arms later. And that was what I did on that day. And you can also check out the video to see my later workout where I did arms. But that's a view of how I'm doing upper. And like I said, I rotate the movements. I borrow a little bit from conjugate training because conjugate was always training the movements. And I think that, you know, for bigger, stronger guys, and you may have noticed that the only muscle on me that's impressive is my traps. So it probably meant that, you know, a lot of these rotational exercises, not not trying to just do the pretty boy exercises, but moving some heavy stuff and trading movements in and out. It probably works well for me. And over the years, I've found that it does. I obviously have not been able to do that in a scientific setting. But anyway, that will wrap it up for this workout. Check out the arm workout on the other side of that. And you'll get a look at a leg workout I was doing where I ran into an issue and I did something that I've learned over the years not to get injured. All right. Be good, everyone.